Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and yet another interesting, not something we don't already know. We already know that Russia has moved nuclear warheads into Kaliningrad, but today, NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, the director of the NATO forces, all around the world there, actually speaking about that, and of course also claiming that Russia's aggression down in Syria, backing, as he calls it, the Assad regime. I think if there's any regime, it is probably the NATO regime or the Obama regime, more along those lines there. But anyway, I want you to hear this right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, here, so you can actually hear NATO confirming that there are nuclear warheads that have been moved to Kaliningrad. Take a listen to this here. Just came out here just a few hours ago, where Jens Stoltenberg, the head of the NATO, brings this out.
We will discuss Russia's recent military activity along our borders. Close to our borders, Russia continues its assertive military posturing, including with massive non-notice exercises. This month alone, Russia has deployed nuclear-capable Iskander missiles to Kaliningrad and suspended a weapons-grade plutonium agreement with the United States. And Russia continues to destabilize eastern Ukraine with military and financial support for the separatists. These moves do not lower tensions or restore predictability to our relations. On NATO's southern neighborhood, Russia's continued support for the Assad regime in Syria is also deeply troubling. Russia has resumed the bombing of Aleppo, which is exacerbating a humanitarian catastrophe. Men, women and children are dying every day, killed by disgraceful attacks on their homes and even their hospitals. And I call on Russia...
Again, of course he's going to call on Russia to stop the aggression, etc. But you know what's interesting? That's like the old saying goes in Alabama, where I grew up at, where they say pot can't call kettle black. Has anybody noticed that, according to what we have here on the RT report here, U.S.-led coalition killed 300 Syrian civilians in 11 probed strikes? That's according to Amnesty International. They're saying here that the 11 airstrikes conducted by the U.S.-led coalition in Syria, which Amnesty International investigated for its latest report, says the U.S. come clean about the civilian toll of its fight against Islamic State. The Amnesty suspects that the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, which directs coalition airstrikes in Syria, may have carried out unlawful attacks in Syria, failing to take necessary measures to prevent civilian killings. We fear the U.S.-led coalition is significantly underestimating the harm caused by the civilians in the operations in Syria, said Lynn Malouf, Deputy Director for Research in Amnesty International on Beirut's regional office there. And that's not even counting all the civilian deaths that have been killed, whether it be from the Saudis, their partners down in Yemen, what's going on in Libya, all the death tolls there, the funerals, everything that have been killed, the people have been killed. It is a war zone. And of course, they're not even taking into account that not just the U.S. coalition's airstrike, which, by the way, I did see the Amnesty report. They're saying anywhere from 300 to 1,000 civilians have been killed by those 11 airstrikes. As much as 1,000 people could have been killed. So they're throwing Russia and Syria under the bus, so to speak. A little, I don't know how you translate that into another language, but anyway. All the while, while they are accusing Russia and Syria, and I don't doubt that the strikes are causing civilian deaths, but we know that the U.S. backed rebels and al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all the groups that they have backed in this region here intentionally target the civilian deaths in the region there. So, you know, it's one thing to intentionally target these people. It's their proxy war that they're doing with Russia. And from what we can see with Jens Stoltenberg there, they're getting ready to go to war with Russia, is what it seems to be. And then the provocative words that he states here about, you know, well, Russia is, you know, did this unthinkable, put nuclear weapons in Kaliningrad, and all the war games that are unannounced. Well, NATO has placed tremendous number of troops and tanks and weapons and everything else all on Russia's border, totally in violation of the agreement that NATO had made with Russia at the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this was done prior to Russia doing its own build-up. And no, Russia never invaded Ukraine. It was a CIA coup. Just like you have the CIA operative, Petro Poroshenko, is in charge inside of Ukraine now. It's very interesting how all the lies that are told to the media. Anyway, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. We'll be coming next with the Mark of the Beast. A little inside, just a little bit look of how you can't buy or sell. Look at it on a little larger picture and what they're going to do individually in the coming, no doubt, months, weeks, years, who knows how long it is out before it affects every one of us. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Shalom.